Are we recording?
Yes. Can you give me your permission?
I give you permission to record all of this stuff.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's begin with the interview. What do you think are some of the major misconceptions of your religion?
That's so big.
Explain.
Such a big question. It depends on the group. Muslims tend to think that Christianity believes in more than one God. So that's a Muslim misconception. Many Christians seem to think that Christianity is about family values, and Jesus was not about family values. Many Christians think that Jesus would have had a problem with homosexuality. There's no evidence of that. Misconceptions. Let me see. Hindus sometimes think of Christianity as a social religion and not having any religious depth. So the misconceptions depend on which particular group you focus on. There are plenty of misconceptions out there. So maybe that'll do.
Okay.
We can come back to that if you want, but
Yes.
it's just gigantic.
Okay, one more.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest one?
The biggest misconception about Christianity. Wow. Well, today or when it was born?
Let's say today.
Well, there are many people who think that Christianity is about the return of Jesus in their own lifetime. I think there's a large portion of the American population who believes Jesus is going to return within 40 years.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Okay.
That's just nuts. But there are many, if you look at surveys, I've seen a survey, 40% of Americans believe Jesus is going to return within the next few decades. That's a misconception. How's that?
That was one of my questions at the beginning, but
Okay.
I took it out.
Yeah.
Okay. The second question. If I can't see God,
Right?
why should I believe in Him? How can I know that God exists?
I don't know why you should. I don't think there's a should there. If you want a rational foundation for believing in God, people want to say there must be an origin to reality. That reality cannot be its own origin, and so they come up with God. Is that it? If I cannot see God? Yeah, so it's to ground reality in some basis that there's a source that is not its own source, that there's some other source. But I don't put a should on that.
Okay. The third. How can there be a God when there is so much evil and suffering in the world?
Yeah, that's the perennial problem. If God is all powerful and all good, how come He's not interfering? Maybe the best answer is that if God created humans to be free, then He cannot intervene and they still be free. In other words, if a human being is free to create evil, to make bad choices and create havoc for people, if God interferes with that freedom, then it's no longer a human being. So freedom seems to imply that God is going to let people be autonomous.
Okay. I heard on the radio that the Pope Francis stated that the Genesis is a legend. Do you think the same?
Yeah, the first 11, 12 chapters of the book of Genesis are many legends in there. There's no talking snakes and there are no trees of the knowledge of good and evil. These are symbolic stories designed to convey some kind of truth. They should not be taken literally. There's no ark with 20 million species on the ark, and these are just stories that have some kind of message, and it takes a little bit of doing to get the message. And the Pope's judgment there is not radical. The Catholic interpretation has been taking the Bible symbolically from the very early days, back to the 1st, 2nd century, and it's just much more self-conscious about the different types of literature within the Bible. Some of them are historical, some of them are symbolic.
Do you think that the Bible has been modified throughout the centuries?
Oh yeah, the Bible's changing quite a bit. If you look at, first of all, individual books, like Mark's Gospel is modified by Matthew. So within the Bible, you see modifications. And then, if you look at different translations, there are all kinds of different changes. For example, Paul has a woman called Junia in Romans 16. It's a woman who's an apostle. Many translations have her as a man. So why would they make her a man? Well, it may be that the culture does not want to see women in superior positions relative to men. And so the culture affects the translation of the Bible.
Okay, that's it.
That was it. Okay.